Hey Facebook, happy Friday, Friday. I'm gonna adjust this. One of these days I'll know exactly what height I want to put this ring light in. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna wait a minute. Let people jump on. So getting used to my short hair. Yeah, I'll grow to love it, I guess, or it'll grow out before then. So happy Friday. Say hey if you're jumping on. I would love to know if you're on the live, you're on the replay. Let me know that. It's Friday night. I just poured my glass of wine. I had my marble slab earlier with the kids. I took Mia and Mason or Mia had an ortho appointment, and so we went and had ice cream afterwards. So if you're a marble slab fan, what is your go-to flavor? We don't go that often. It was $20 for 3 ice creams. Like, that's bananas to me. Like, that's so stupid. But it was a treat. So I don't even remember what kind of Cool Mint. Mason got blue coconut. No, blue cotton candy was all over his face. And then Mia got, I don't remember, some shake. So anyways, it's Friday night. Brian's out in the gym working. I see his muscles. I've got on Fridays we flex tank top on. It's amazing. Strawberry cheesecake. I was going to bring you home one, boo, but then I didn't. They had some in the cooler and I didn't. But anyways, let me get to the point. Recently I was listening to a training about certain words that we use subconsciously and are ultimately self-sabotaging, like our success, because our self-talk is so massive, right? And I've really been focusing on developing my mindset. I think that term is really like loosely used, but I'm really struggling with like my own self-talk. And I think that we all do, especially women. But so it was this list called Words of the Week, and not like spelling words of the week, but like weak-minded. And did you know that most people really go through life trying to prove why they can't do things versus coming up with solutions as to why they should, or how they can. And fortunately, I have Brian, who is my fantastic balance. Like, oh my God, I mean, I really think that some of us that have like trained ourselves to be these weak-minded individuals, we're dramatic. And like, you can ask Brian, I was a drama queen. I don't think I am anymore. I've gotten a lot better. I've grown up a lot. I've developed myself a lot. But it's like our go-to to use some of these certain words, and it's like so, like I said, dramatic, and without really thinking through and communicating how you're really feeling. So I'm going to read these words to you because I've written them. I've kept them written on my board for a while now, and have them written in my journal. So words of the week. Are you using these words regularly? Like living in this state, not like for a moment you may be feeling this, but people, I'm not still a drama queen. I've gotten better, but I'm going to read these to you, and then I hope that if you are using them, you can kind of teach yourself to retrain and rewire your brain. So this light's so bright I can barely read it. So confused, frustrated, overwhelmed, stuck, disappointed. So like I said, it's okay for a moment, like something can be confusing, but then your mind, you should say, okay, what can I do with that? Brian is amazing at problem solving, and I've learned from that and being around that, because I grew up in a very dramatic household. My parents use these words all the time, and the reason I felt the urge to come on and talk about this was there's so many of my friends that are parents. I don't want my kids growing up hearing that all the time, to where that's normal for them, to live in this state of confusion, be frustrated and overwhelmed, instead of seeing a situation and chunking it and knowing, like, what is that term about, like eating an elephant, like one bite at a time or whatever. It's such a weird example, but I know that I use some of those words, and I've been very mindful since hearing this list. And because Brian's throwing those hearts, I say overwhelmed. I used to. I've cut it out since I've heard this. I've caught myself saying overwhelmed, because like it's just an easy go-to to be so dramatic about and overwhelmed. Like things are so big and so confusing, and and it's just like, no, take a minute, evaluate the moment, whatever it is, and it's like, what can I do to lessen this situation, whether it's stressful or whatever. Like I'm thinking of like the other day I was cleaning my office out, stuff's everywhere. And it was getting more stressful. The bigger the pile, then I'm like, oh my God, in my house. And I feel like everything's a mess. And Brian's like, everything's not a mess. But in my mind, I'm building that up. And like I said, it's in our subconscious, like, to where I'm just like thinking of everything that's wrong instead of, okay, Kathleen, you came in to clean your office. Go one corner at a time or whatever example. But my point being is, well, we don't even know that we do it, but it's so automatic for us to think of why we can't do something. I could never travel there. I don't have enough money. Instead of, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it on my vision board, which if you don't have a vision board, you should. But you know, you limit yourself. So many of us limit ourselves. I could never do that. Oh, I could never fit into that. I could never look like that. I could never be like that. I could never feel like that. And I could never afford that. You know, all these things that you're saying never, those are really strong words because you can, but people just limit themselves. They can't travel here. They can't afford that. I'll never have that much money, you know, because it's just whatever life is. They got dealt the bad deck of cards or what hand of cards. I don't do cards. Brian, card player. That made me sound really blonde, but you know my point. So my whole point of this, like I said, was I don't want my babies growing up hearing these words of the week. I want them to look up to us and want to be, you know, as good of it or better. Not want to be like Brian and I, but like my parents are amazing. And you know what? Like we went to Disney World or whatever next vacation that we're going to save to. Because like, no, could we fly to Disney World next week? That'd be foolish. We don't have the money saved for that. But I would grow up hearing things like only rich people go to college. My parents didn't push for further education. That was such bullshit to me about not being, I hope nobody's kids are watching right now, and I'm sorry for that, but like, to tell me that, sorry, that's just for rich people to go away to college, like, who limits their legacy like that? And that's one example, but my life was like that, where my parents just, this bubble of limited beliefs and living in fear. And so I refuse to raise my kids to these words of the week. And so I encourage you, I'm going to say them one more time before I wrap this up, but I encourage you to be mindful of these words that you are saying in your mind that turn into verbal and that your kids are hearing, because it turns the course of everything, because then they grow up feeling the same way, overwhelmed and confused and frustrated and living in these states that it's just unnecessary. Hey, Cynthia, jumping on. So I gotta have a sip of my wine. My mouth's dry and the wine's not gonna help, but it's Friday night, so hey. Words of the week can sabotage you. Learn to retrain those thoughts, and it's not an overnight thing. I mean, by any means, these are habits that have been embedded us since we were kids, probably. And then the more that we feel defeated, that stinking thinking gets in, and you know it's just toxic, that toxicity in our minds that is so hard to shake. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that lift you up, empower you, and educate you instead of riffraff and, you know, just that drag you down. And so I know, Cynthia, and see, like, you need friends. You know, we've had lots of conversation about, especially recently, that love you enough to tell you to snap out of it, and that are going to build you up, not fill your head and blow smoke up your butt, but to love you enough to say you're, I don't even know how to word it right now without being too specific about things, but just, you're better than this. You're not overwhelmed. Let's create a solution for this. Instead of, yeah, I know, girl, like, I can't afford it either. I'll never be able to do that either. I mean, like, womp, womp, womp. Stop being so weak. Everybody needs to stop being victims and enjoy their life. You get one. You only get one, by the way. You get one experience through this, you know, you get one life. And to just say you can't, too overwhelmed, so frustrated, so confused. Like, let's be better than that. Let's work on that. So, words of the week, one more time. Like I've said them 3 or 4 times right now, but frustrated, overwhelmed, confused. Are you living in those states? Or are you looking for solutions? Brian, thank God for my Brian, who has helped me. It's like he's conditioned me since our 10 years of marriage, because I was dramatic. and I would just freak out. I would react. I lived my entire life in reaction mode instead of assessing something and looking at it. How can I better the situation? What can I do step by step? It doesn't have to be all at once. And baby, I love you for that. I love you. I love you for being my rock, for all that, because he's seen my transformation, and it's not an overnight. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm super proud of myself. When Kyra threw up all over the floor this morning, if y'all saw my Facebook story, like, I practice what I preach. I'm working very hard on not reacting to certain things because I don't want my kids I don't want that to be a norm. And I don't want to take my stressors out on them because Kyra threw up all over the carpet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, when things get stressful, we kind of lash out, especially just whoever is around it, maybe with our kids, and kind of might take things out on them and be tense with them. Or I might be the only mom. But Kyra threw up, like, literally the moment that I needed to, like, I've got to get the kids up right now. And it was everywhere, all over the carpet 2 times, and then 2 more times in the living room. And I was super proud of myself. I love you, boo. I was super proud of myself that it wasn't that bad didn't come out of my mouth. My mind was positive about it. Like, that's bananas, because initially, like, before I started working on myself, even more and more every day, that would have really pissed me off. I mean, I'd have been like cursing in my mind, just not out of my mouth so my kids wouldn't hear it. And I looked at it and I was just like, well, I'm going to get some paper towels. I didn't have time to clean it up. I put paper towels over it, woke the babies up very softly, just like I do every morning, got them breakfast, and I said, okay, so I'm going to need y'all to help me out a little bit more because Kyra's sick. And I went to care of it. And I was really proud of myself to handle it like that. So, words of the week: don't be overwhelmed. Don't just live in frustrated state. You know, learn to retrain your mind. And if some of these words had a red flag for you and you're like, oh, shoot, I do say that often. And you would like to help retrain that and limit those and eventually, ultimately eliminate those from your, I said limit and reduce, and ultimately eliminate them from your vocabulary and from your mindset, and you need a little bit of extra help, you can private message me and I can send you this. I have this whole long list of positive affirmations for success, and reading those, absorbing those, and repeating those and reducing those will help you retrain your mind and think more positively, where it's a natural response instead of a reaction and living in a state of craziness. So don't use words of the week. Please private message me if you'd like to see that list and see if any of those really stand out to you. And TGIF, happy Friday, everybody.